You've probably heard someone say it, right? Dude, it's just weed. And you know what? For a lot of people, that's true. But what if that daily habit, that thing you do to unwind, is actually chipping away at your future? Today, we're going to get into a really powerful analysis that looks at the hidden costs of daily cannabis use. These are costs that can pile up for years before you even realize what's happening.
Look, this isn't about shaming anyone who uses it casually. Not at all. This is about taking a really honest look at a daily habit. If you're a daily user, you're probably thinking, nah, I've got this under control. And hey, maybe you do. But what if you don't? What if that daily ritual is quietly, slowly building walls around your own potential?
So let's talk numbers for a sec, because they're pretty staggering. In 2023, 1 out of every 15 American adults had a cannabis use disorder. And get this, there are now more daily weed users in the US than daily alcohol drinkers. So yeah, this is not some tiny niche issue. It's a huge cultural shift, and it has some massive and often invisible consequences.
Nobody ever wakes up one morning and decides, you know what, today's the day I'm gonna get addicted. It's just not how it works. It's much more of a slow, kind of comfortable drift. You start by just dipping a toe in, and then before you even realize it, you're out in the deep end and you've kind of forgotten how to swim back to shore.
Think about it this way. If you and 4 of your friends all try weed for the first time, there's a pretty good chance that one of you is going to develop a cannabis use disorder. That's a 1 in 5 risk. It's a roll of the dice that most people don't even know they're taking when they start.
And we have to be honest, right? The honeymoon phase is amazing. That's why people do it. Music just sounds incredible. Food is the best thing you've ever tasted, and everything is hilarious. It feels like a temporary upgrade to reality. And that's exactly what makes it so hard to see the downside, until you're already caught in the current.
And this whole analysis, it's not just a bunch of statistics pulled from nowhere. The source material for this was written by someone who lived this reality for 15 years, every single day. So this is a story being told from the inside, and that's what makes it hit so hard.
So how does it happen? Well, it starts with a little fun, maybe on a weekend. Then it kind of becomes the weekend. Then it's how you get through Monday and Tuesday, and pretty soon, the whole week. And then one day, you look up and realize you're not even chasing a high anymore. You're just running away from feeling normal.
Here's the really tricky part. In your 20s, you can be a high-functioning addict and have absolutely no idea. Life just has this momentum, right? It carries you along. You get new jobs, move to new apartments, start new relationships, but while you feel like you're moving forward on the outside, you might just be standing completely still on the inside.
Okay, think of your 20s like a conveyor belt at the airport. It just kind of moves you from one milestone to the next without much effort. But in your 30s, that conveyor belt just stops, and suddenly you're standing there and you realize you have to build your own path forward. And that's the terrifying moment you might realize you don't have the tools.
Your 20s are like a one-time only chance to invest in your future self. You can invest that time in friendships, experiences, skills, things that will pay you back for the rest of your life. Or you can cash it all in for a few hours of hazy comfort on the couch. In the moment, the choice seems easy, but the long-term price is enormous. Just let that sink in for a second. You will never, ever get this time back. It is a very fleeting window of opportunity, and once it's shut, it is shut for good.
And then you hit your 30s, and you start to look around, and you realize, oh wow, everyone else has been busy building their lives while you've just been building a tolerance. The gap between where you are and where you could have been suddenly feels like a canyon, and it is a long, lonely look down.
You know, friendships in your 30s are like houseplants. You actually have to water them. But addiction is like a drought. It makes you flaky, it makes you anxious, it makes you withdraw. And before you know it, you're in what's called an isolation trap, surrounded only by other people who share your habit. And your whole world just gets smaller and smaller.
And what about love? Well, addiction can make you a passenger in your own relationships. You're there physically, but you're not really present. And one day, you might get completely blindsided by a breakup. And it's only in that moment that you realize you've basically been a ghost in your own life.
Think of your career as a ladder. Addiction is like a vine that just wraps around your ankles. Every missed opportunity, every deadline you procrastinate on, that's another twist of the vine, holding you down while you watch your friends and peers climb higher and higher. But maybe the most damaging cost isn't what you lose on the outside, it's what you lose on the inside.
It's the slow, quiet construction of a mental prison where the bars are made of your own anxiety, and the warden, well, the warden is the very thing you thought was setting you free.
It's something called the deceptive flip. At first, you use weed to feel better, right? To calm down. But over time, it actually rewires your brain until you need it just to feel normal. The thing you thought was the cure becomes the disease, and you're left in a much deeper hole than the one you were trying to climb out of in the first place.
You essentially become a dam, holding back this massive flood of anxiety and stress and irritability. And for a while, weed feels like the only thing keeping that dam from bursting. But eventually, the cracks start to show, and you realize you are not in control anymore, not even close.
Okay, after hearing all of that, you might be feeling a little hopeless. I get it. But here's the good news. This is not a life sentence. There is a way out, and it starts with one single step. So here's a challenge. A simple test. Stop for 4 weeks. Not next month, not after that one thing you've got coming up. Today. If the very thought of that fills you with a sense of dread, or if you try and you just can't make it, well, that's your answer. That's your wake-up call.
Look, the point of all this isn't to scare you. It's to empower you. Quitting is hard, for sure, but it is not as hard as waking up in 10 years and realizing you've been asleep at the wheel of your own life. The sooner you decide to grab that wheel, the sooner you can start steering toward the future you actually want.
So we'll leave you with this question. You can't get back the time you've lost. No one can. But you can decide what to do with the time you have left. The clock is ticking. What are you going to do now?